our top story in the nation today, also echoing here in Florida as well. 2 police officers murdered in cold blood in New York City. But in Tarpon Springs, just north of Tampa, a similar tragedy as a police officer is shot several times right before the gunman actually ran him over with his car. Detectives say Charlie Kondek was just following up on a noise complaint early Sunday morning when things suddenly took a terrible turn for the worse. When Officer Kondek got out of his car, witnesses say 23-year-old Marco Perilla opened fire, shooting Kondek several times. A few of those bullets hitting him in his protective vest, others did not. Then Perilla allegedly forced a woman out of her vehicle there and ran Kondek over before speeding away and fleeing the scene. Before long, other patrol cars tracked Perilla down. He was trying to flee the area and then ran that car into a light pole. He fled on foot before being arrested. Now he's facing first-degree murder charges. When the officers took Perilla into the holding cell, he apologized to the family of Officer Kondek in front of several TV cameras, saying, "That was not my intention to kill Officer there in Tarpon Springs." And with all of the anti-police sentiment expressed in recent days, protests, a lot of different things happening, police officers and their families say they're feeling very threatened directly. They're on high alert, many of them, already on the lookout for any kind of aggression or anti-police violence. But in Miami-Dade, they're actually getting a response of a different kind. Gratitude and appreciation in the form of an anonymous donation. But this one has a catch. The donation, several $100 gift cards, comes with specific instructions. In fact, the officers are not even allowed to keep the gifts for themselves. They're supposed to turn right around and give them to other people in need. A nice twist on giving back in the holidays. In other news, we're still tracking the new shift in American relations with Cuba. Of course, this is affecting so many people here in South Florida. But one angle many people want to know is just how much of a role did Pope Francis play in all the negotiations? It's something people really want to know, especially with so much emotion and anger built up against the Castro regime. So many Cuban-American Catholics already view the Castro brothers as their worst enemy, a memory that haunts them from years past, and yet the Pope was one who reportedly orchestrated this reunion between Cuba and America. Now, 53-year-old Efrain Rivas lives in Miami now, but he was a political prisoner in Cuba for 16 years. After learning of Pope Francis' involvement, Rivas said, quote, "I'm still a Catholic till the day I die, but I'm a Catholic without a Pope." Now, other Catholics might not be as hurt or as offended, but they're more concerned or suspicious. They're asking the questions such as, what kind of a role should the Pope be playing in all of this? The separation of church and state obviously is something that's coming up in conversation. Many Cuban Americans in South Florida accuse the Pope of putting his own legacy above his role as the papal leader. Senator Marco Rubio hopped in. He said he would ask His Holiness to take up the cause of freedom and democracy. Moving on to another topic now that Pope Francis has been very outspoken on, gay marriage, specifically right here in South Florida. After a long back-and-forth battle, the U.S. Supreme Court puts an end to the bickering. The ruling is in. Florida can no longer ban gay marriage. The nation's top court, they won't allow it, even though Attorney General Pam Bondi has often fought to keep the state's ban on gay marriage, one the voters elected themselves back in 2008. Now, gay couples can start seeking legal marriage licenses on January 6th. And in other news, Jameis Winston is cleared of any wrongdoing. A panel of judges at Florida State says there was not enough evidence to satisfy the burden of proof. The official court statement says Winston is not responsible for the sexual assault allegations. So Florida State's signal caller goes into the college football playoffs with one less distraction on his mind. But it might not be over yet. There's still a time frame when this could change. Remember, this all started out with an accusation from a woman who says Winston raped her this coming 2 years ago. Now, she can still request an appeal. She has 5 days from the initial report to do so. No word yet if she will move forward with her case. Now, under Title IX rules, colleges are required to investigate any report of sexual assault, even if no one ever presses criminal charges. Now, Winston's lawyer says the quarterback and the woman had consensual sex. He says it wasn't rape. The Florida State President, John Thrasher, you may remember, he actually used to be a Chief Justice on Florida's Supreme Court himself. He applauded this Supreme Court hearing, and as he should. Should the Seminoles beat Oregon in the Rose Bowl and move on to the national championship game, there could be a lot of money on the line. They could rake in a lot of cash. Last year's national champion earned upwards of $20 million just from the TV deal alone. That doesn't even include any of the extra ticket sales, merchandise, other indirect revenue. And according to USA Today, in this year's playoff system, the Power 5 conference champions will actually pay out more than double what the BCS, the old system, used to pay. A lot of money on the line.